Yo, we back and better than ever. You know who it is. Fifth Down Territory featuring all ya boys coming at you this week. We got Shane back with us. We got Tyler, as always. Blake rears his head to win the division, and you know who it is. Louie Stewart. We back for another week talking playoffs. It's that season.
Well, me, Bahookie, and Louie are talking playoffs.
Louie,
Lamb's chilling.
I'm talking third overall pick.
He's still talking playoffs. He's just not talking playoffs for his team.
You know, actually, before we get, I'm actually curious. Like, who?
Any of you won a Super Bowl while you've been alive?
Yes.
Okay. How old are you?
Don't worry about how old I am, but like the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, I would have been in kindergarten, I guess.
Okay. All right. It counts. I asked the question. You answered it correctly.
To be fair, youngest franchise in the league, so
that's true.
Okay.
We don't talk about
that. All right, but let's keep it rolling.
In Bahookie's case, even his dad ain't never seen them win a Super Bowl, but they could.
He went to all four though.
He went in person to all four Super Bowls.
Yeah,
were the tickets like dirt cheap?
He didn't go in. He went into two of the games, but he traveled for all four of them. The first one he got to party with Bruce Smith, Cornelius Bennett, Daryl Talley, all those guys. Like
he was in the mix.
He was out drinking with them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hanging out. Bruce Smith
it was in Tampa, down the street from here at the old Sombrero, and it was a place called the Yucatan Liquor Stand, which has been gone, I guess, for like 10 years.
That sounds like a place people go to. The Yucatan. Liquor. Wow.
True story. But anyways,
I love it.
We can get into it. We can talk.
There's only
super wild card weekend.
Super wild card weekend. We got, what is it, 6 games this weekend?
Yep.
Spread out over 3 days.
Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about as far as those matchups go. But, as always, we're going to start the show off and give some opinion pieces. So, let's talk about coaching openings, right? Currently 6 vacancies. Staley got fired midseason. Frank Reich got fired midseason. Those are the only 2. Oh, yeah, McDaniels with the Raiders. So 3 midseason. And since the season's ended, Vrabel got fired this morning. Arthur Smith has been fired, and Ron Rivera got fired. Okay, so 6 head coaching openings.
They fired Arthur Smith at literally midnight on the dot on Black Monday.
Jamal Williams fired him.
Thank you.
So close before that.
I mean, it was a long time coming. It's coaching malpractice that you have a player of talent like Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, and you can't figure out a scheme or get a coordinator that can give you the scheme to give these guys the ball. I understand if it's a matter of the players ain't living up to it, but it's also a thing where like you're putting these players in not a good enough position to win, and that's also an organizational failure because they've been riding Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke when there were other better options available. I'm not even counting Deshaun Watson. They were in on the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, but there were other quarterbacks, better quarterbacks available during Arthur Smith's time, and they continuously said, "No, we're gonna go with this guy. No, we're gonna go with this guy."
You could make the same. You could leverage the same argument against the Jets, in my opinion, too. I'm really surprised Saleh is still there. To me, that was one of. I know they're gonna run it back with the whole Rodgers thing, but that GM at least, you had the opportunity to bring in pieces and still have a competitive season, and you didn't.
Let's not get too hard on the Jets general manager. I mean, last year he did draft the offense.
Patriots guy doesn't want us to be hard on the Jets.
No, because they have talent on their roster. Like their GM is at least doing his job. They had talent on that roster. It all fell apart.
They've had a lot of problems with injuries, like in the last 3 years, and I don't know, injuries aren't an excuse, but I don't know, your franchise quarterback blown his Achilles out 4 plays in. And then having to play with Zach Wilson. I mean,
so I'm going to tell you what we do need to talk about. I feel like this is worth mentioning. Let me find his name because I got to make sure I yell at the right person.
The suspense is killing me.
All right. So I'm gonna give you guys this, and you tell me if this is the worst GM stretch in history. Okay?
Okay.
So we're talking about the Titans, talking about John Robinson, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I took a picture of these 3 draft classes, and I'm going to read them to you. Okay?
Yep.
Ready.
Isaiah Wilson, pick 29.
Oof.
Christian Fulton, pick 61.
Injuries hurt him.
Darrington Evans, 93. Laurel Murchison, who I've never heard of ever.
Yep.
74. Cole McDonald, 224. Chris Jackson, 243. Okay? Oof.
Okay.
We whipped in 2020. We were in the playoffs, though. So, we're going to run it back. Okay. Now we're picking high 20s. All right. We got this. Easy. Pick 1. Caleb Farley. Pick 22.
Another injury bug guy.
Yeah.
Dylan Radunes.
You knew there was going to be injuries with Farley, though. That was one of his things going into
his thing was high upside, but injuries were hurting. And Dylan Radden's actually been a solid offensive. He had not been an all-star. He's been a solid offensive line, so we can't kill him for that one. He's been a reliable starter.
Okay, next, Monty Rice, linebacker.
Okay.
Elijah Molden, DB, who actually does play for them.
Yep, he's
pretty
solid. He's solid.
Okay, Dez Fitzpatrick, that was a wide receiver in the beginning of the 4th.
They crucified him because they passed him up. Yeah.
Rashad Weaver, Racy McMath, and then Brady Breeze end out that draft class. Okay, so some injury stuff. We pulled a couple starters out of that one. Okay, 2022, we trade AJ Brown, Traylon Burks, Roger McCreary.
He's a decent. I think he's a cornerback 1 for the Titans. He's a cornerback 2 or 3 on a better defense.
Yeah, I'd say probably an elite corner 3, a mid corner 2, not a corner 1, right? Okay,
you can play
at the top of the 2nd.
Yep.
All right. Round 3, Nicholas Petit Frere.
He's a good player.
That's not actually a bad pick, I don't think. In the 3rd round, he plays some games, whatever. Malik Willis, who they immediately moved off the following season. Hassan Haskins, who they also kind of immediately moved off the following season. Chigozie Okonkwo, who's like the only really standout.
He's a great player. He's a real good tight end. Yeah.
Okay. Kyle Phillips, wide receiver. Theo Jackson, DB, and then Chance Campbell, linebacker. I want you guys to look at me and tell me that there's a worse 3-year stretch of drafting than that.
I can't.
Okay, that's not my dog at a computer.
No, you want to. I mean, Isaiah Wynn, Sony Michel, like that. The N'Keal Harry.
They were good in a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, they won with Brady. They got a Super Bowl, but long term, you could have had Lamar Jackson and somebody else in that class, in that area. Nick Chubb and Lamar Jackson. I would take that right now.
Yeah. But all that to say, I think they should rehire Vrabel. Also, rehire this GM just so they can fire him again. Bring him back in the building, let him unpack his stuff, let him walk out, yell at him, fire him, send him back in to pack back up.
I think it'll be interesting who the Titans hire the next as their head coach because they're very much a defensively built team, but they found, and you can call it found if you want to, Will Levis, their quarterback, who looks like he's going to be their quarterback in the future. He had these really high moments and these really kind of mid-tier moments, which, you expect from rookies more often than not. From rookies, you expect them to have highs and lows. Not every rookie's going to have a C.J. Stroud type season. Not every rookie's going to have a Bryce Young type season. More often than not, they're going to have, if they have good coaching, they'll have that Will Levis type season where they have good games, bad games, but you see the potential, but you also see them hit that rookie wall. But a lot of it has to do with organizational foundation. Did they have an offensive line that can keep them upright? Do they have weapons that can help them develop their confidence in the passing game? That sort of thing. Yeah. And not every franchise has that set for their quarterback. We saw Louie, to your credit, your team went out there and y'all built the offensive line before he got there. Y'all went out there and signed players like Dalton Schultz and Devin Singletary to make sure they all had reliable weapons in case he needed that option. Drafted Tank Dell. He looks like he's going to be special down the line. Nico Collins has a breakout season. So y'all had, I would say, not a perfect, but a solid foundation that allowed C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans to come in to a place that they could grow and win. With Will Levis, he had a great coach in Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is going to be a hot commodity, especially for defensive coordinator positions. But the offensive line is terrible. Now, yeah, they drafted Skoronski from Northwestern. He's been a solid guard for them. But that offensive line is terrible overall. Their best receiver is an aging DeAndre Hopkins. Traylon Burks is always hurt. And right now, their best weapon, the running back, Derrick Henry, he's going to be Tyjae Spears is going to be the running back one going forward, but Henry's going to be a free agent. And Chigo Okonkwo, their tight end, is going to be a good tight end moving forward, but tight ends take time to develop. He's not there yet. So the Titans are at least 2 years away from being a legitimate, at least I would say, threat based on what they need right now. In that division, the Texans are a step above. The Jags are a step above. We'll see where the Colts are with Anthony Richardson. That's kind of like a hit or miss type thing.
I like Steichen a lot, so I'm gonna believe in the Colts. They did pretty good with Gardner Minshew, who before this season.
How far will Gardner Minshew take you? That was the point.
No, exactly. I understand that. If Anthony Richardson goes in there with a similar type of coaching style that obviously like worked. I mean, they went 9-7, 9-8.
Yeah.
So that is, I'm pretty sure half of Gardner Minshew's wins in his career right there. Like he had 16 wins in his career, and
something like
7
that.
of them.
He won a few games with the Jags, right? He won a couple of those starts.
A couple, I'm pretty sure, but I know that he doesn't have over 20 wins, and he won 7 games this year.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I have an old roommate I talk to all the time who's a Titans fan, and I told him it's tough. They moved off of Vrabel for free. And the reports that are coming out of Nashville, like on the local channels, are that they moved off of him early because they couldn't have traded him until after conference championships. And they were scared that they were going to miss out on some of the premium talent that's going to be around this offseason. What premium talent wants this roster?
You know what I mean? One that gets paid enough?
I mean, yeah, I guess if you give enough money, there's somebody who
money talks loudest, my man.
Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these offensive guys, it's not an offensive roster. So I don't know that you can find a defensive guy better than Vrabel.
One last thing I want to say on the Titans, and y'all can say what y'all need to say. Where the Titans are right now, where they need both protection and receivers on that offense, I think the defense is actually pretty solid. But in terms of like what they have at their core, they're in a position right now where draft pick wise and money wise, they're gonna have to either buy weapons and draft offensive linemen or vice versa. Just because it's hard to mix and match in this league and develop those guys because you need some sort of like players to come in right away and help you. So if they're in a position where they can get a reliable offensive lineman, then they better be signing like an extra wide receiver to help out alongside DeAndre Hopkins because Burks is always hurt. Kyle Phillips is like always dropping the passes. Right now, their two best weapons to throw the ball to are Okonkwo, the tight end, and Hopkins when he ain't hurt, but he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
I think you could.
Nick McKinney plays pretty well for them, but I wouldn't classify him as like a top tier receiver.
If Bill Belichick is back, Vrabel would be probably their first priority to come back. Yes. If Belichick is back.
If Vrabel and Belichick have a good relationship still, I could really see him taking like an assistant head coaching position in like leading up to a retirement, but I think the answer is yes. I don't know where else he would move laterally that's going to be better for him than the Patriots.
So I heard this today on the radio, and it said that if Mike Vrabel does come back to New England, he might be interested in bringing Arthur Smith back as his offensive coordinator.
Oh my God!
And if that happens, if I have to take Arthur Smith
at that point
to get Mike Vrabel. Don't give me Mike Vrabel. Go find Gerard Mayo. Elevate. And I don't even like that move. I want an offensive-minded person to come in and try and rebuild this thing. You can't do that. I do think that Vrabel and New England have mutual interest, though. There's a history with there.
Where he played. I mean, how could they not? That's where he played.
Yeah, I mean
He won there. He's in the their Ring of Honor.
Is he?
The relationship run, and when he addressed that group, he called we. He said we. Referring to himself as a Patriot still.
Yeah. It just I'd be excited with Vrabel. I would have to have him. Like I can't deal with Arthur Smith on the Patriots. That's not something I can handle.
Great question. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think what they need to do is leave Arthur Smith jobless, and then he can open a 7-Eleven after he adds that one more L to his recurring season pattern.
Yeah.
Let him open up on the corner. 7-10.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. All right. So any other openings that stand out to you guys? I think we all have kind of beat the Panthers to death this season. I would say Raiders and the Commanders.
I like the Commanders spot with new ownership. It's ownership that seems, Bahookie, you can go. You haven't talked very much in this one yet.
Yeah, the Commanders' job is like it's like a blank slate. I was just saying because they have the number 2 pick, Drake Mays, right there if you want him. A new owner who's willing to spend money. As we said, money talks. This guy is ready for it. Not a bad job. Obviously the Chargers' job is the most attractive because they have the franchise quarterback. We'll see.
Yeah.
You guys think Harbaugh's coming out, or you think he's staying in Michigan?
No, I don't think he's coming out. The rumors have been around too many years, I think, for me. But
so I will say this for Washington, for that second overall pick. I understand a lot of people think Drake May is like the end all be all number 2 overall quarterback, but the problem is that their offensive line is terrible. And if you have a bad offensive line, you're better off getting a quarterback with a high upside who can move around in the pocket. And Drake May is much more pocket mobile than he is effective and a game changer. I wouldn't be surprised if they look at Jaden Daniels from LSU with that pick. I don't want that to happen because I think he might end up being the best quarterback in this draft, and I don't want Washington to be good. A little bias there, but that's just something to consider. That's all I'm going to say.
No, it's a very good point.
Yeah,
I like Drake May. We'll see. I'm not a Caleb Williams fan, honestly, but it looks like he's pretty much the consensus number 1.
Nah, I got JJ McCarthy as my number 1. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait till you see my big board.
Yep.
Unrecognized.
I don't want to see
Move on.
No, I kind of like what the Commanders have been doing. They're connected to a lot of good personnel directors. They're rumored to be pulling I can't remember his name, a longtime member of the Cowboys personnel group. They're pulling somebody over from, I think I saw the NBA too, who built a team there.
The Warriors.
The Warriors.
General manager of the Warriors.
So they're clearly looking for winners, which I think means something. I don't know how some of that's going to translate, but at least the mentality's there.
Yeah, they see too much Ted Lasso.
That's great stuff.
Hey, you can never see too much Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
no, you can't if you take it towards a real life application.
I don't think that these people are advisors. They're not like bringing that person in to run their football operations. They brought in the old general manager of the Warriors to be like an advisor, like in like a secondary role, like to help out whoever they decide to hire as a GM. So yeah. I mean, I like what they did. Like they have really strong offensive pieces with McLaurin, Dotson, even Curtis Samuel. I think they do need to get a tight end, but like if they fix up that O-line, I would use some of that money in the offseason to sign O-linemen, take the quarterback, and then you have these good weapons around the quarterback, and hopefully your protection kind of fits up with that. And like their defense, though, they gutted their defense. Like if they had just buckled down and kind of signed Chase Young and Montez Sweat and then did these moves on the offense, they could have had a quick turnaround. But now their defense has just kind of lost all semblance of what they were like 2 years ago. They were a really solid defense. So,
but I do think I think Atlanta's my number 1. And then Commanders or flip-flop. But those are probably, to me, the 2 most appealing coaching openings. So, okay. Well, if you guys don't want to say anything else, we can move on to our next topic. What do we have written down here?
I think we're going to do the playoff storylines for each team.
Yeah, we can do playoff. Yeah, top surprise team. Is that what we talked about, or just playoff storylines?
Just to let's just go from each team, each say one of the storylines that kind of either surprise us or interest us, and then we can start with Green Bay, and then go to Dallas, and then talk about that game, and then go to the next team, that game, if that makes sense. Shane, you want to start with Dallas? Like, what's your most interesting storyline of the playoffs with the Cowboys?
Well, what's interesting to me, and it's like kind of been like really something that people have kind of like been back and forth about for the last couple months, and that is Dak in the MVP discussion. And that's a hot button topic just because, and this is the harsh reality of it, is that the Cowboys are that franchise that if you don't love them, Lamb, you know this, if you don't love them, you hate them. Or at the very least, you might not love them, but it's the fans you don't like or whatever it is. And unfortunately, that's a narrative that carries over to a lot of media members because a lot of those media members are former players. And those former players have those same feelings going out in the second line of careers. Dak on the season is the only quarterback that has finished, and obviously I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm unashamed to say this, but I'm just going to say this for real. He's the only quarterback in the NFL with that is top 3 in passing touchdowns, passing yards, total QBR, passer rating, completion percentage, and completion percentage against the blitz. Okay, he's the only one in the NFL against it. I understand why people think Lamar Jackson would be the MVP because he plays on the quarterback for the best team, and right now the Ravens are playing the best. I think most of us would probably agree. Unbiased, the Ravens might be the best team in the NFL. I would say to them, outside of rushing yards and record, whereas Lamar been better than Dak as a quarterback. But also in that regard, the other way around, this is in his favor. Does Lamar have a CD Lamb to throw to? He lost his best weapon in Mark Andrews, and he's able to make things work with Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely, who I was already fans of, but even still, that's impressive in and of itself. But the narrative of him becoming this turnover-prone guy into potentially the MVP, I would at the very least say he's second-team All-Pro if Lamar is the MVP. Like that in and of itself is a storyline that people like, whether you want to or not, you have to have, just because a lot of people who said he's turnover-prone, he's this or that, are kind of eating crow at this point, whether you like the Cowboys or not.
Yeah, I think I think the turnover prone thing is completely overstated. He had a bad year last year, and like half of those picks he threw were all tip balls and like things that probably shouldn't have gotten picked off. So I never believed he was going to have another 16 interceptions this year. I thought 10 was like a solid number because he is going to throw a lot of passes and things happen. But he's had a very clean year, and like he has been one of the best quarterbacks in this league. My storyline for the Cowboys at least is Mike McCarthy gonna mess this up for you guys? Like that's my thing. Like I can't stand him. I think he's a goober. I think any chance he
you
gets,
ain't the first person I've heard say that either. Along those lines.
He had Aaron Rodgers for 10 years. They won 1 Super Bowl. Like that type of talent. Huh?
Aren't you grateful for that?
No,
why would he be grateful for that? He ain't a Packers fan.
I'm saying like it overlapped with the Brady era. So if Aaron wins more, Brady likely wins less.
Yeah, to be fair, Manning only won 2, and only one was the Colts
against Brady. Yeah. So, like the thing is, like I think that a lot of the reason why Aaron Rodgers didn't see more Super Bowls is because of Mike McCarthy. They won one together, and I don't think that McCarthy helped him ever elevate again after that in the playoffs.
I think it's because 4 years in a row they had generationally terrible defenses for 4 years after they won the Super Bowl consecutively. I think that might have had more to do with it than just like Mike McCarthy, but I agree partially that it was coaching.
So I am worried about him, and you got the whole Cowboys playoffs thing. I think those two things just merge right together. Like Mike McCarthy, Cowboys haven't reached the conference finals. And I actually said in my hot takes article, they were going to reach the conference finals this year because nobody was talking about the Cowboys to do anything this year.
Bahookie did.
They said they broke the curse now that Jimmy Johnson's in the Ring of Honor.
That's a real thing. They've compared it to the curse of the Bambino and Lamb. I'm assuming you're a Red Sox fan, so I know you know all about curses and all that. Yep. They're comparing this just because ever since Jimmy Johnson was fired, and we don't really count the Switzer Super Bowl as that because Cowboys fans consider that Jimmy's team, that Switzer was just kind of driving the bus on. Mm-hmm. Ever since then, it's been every time they're in the playoffs, it's some sort of play because they don't get blown out in the playoffs. It's always like some sort of heartbreaking play at the end in those games. And I think if they made it to the NFC Championship game, because like if I'm being real, earlier in the season I picked San Francisco to beat the Cowboys. I didn't think it'd be that bad, but I picked them to beat the Cowboys. If they played again, in the NFC Championship game, I'll probably pick San Francisco again, like to break my heart anyway, again because San Francisco's a better team. But if they make it to the conference championship, at the very least, that's a step in the right direction.
I would agree with that as well. That's honestly what I expect to happen. Pretty much exactly as you narrated it right there.
So what's your Cowboys storyline, Bahookie? Then we'll go to Louie, and then Louie can start with the Packers. Then we'll talk about the game after we wrap that up.
A lot of what Shane said. I had Dak on one of my dynasty teams, and and I know exactly what he did, and he was really one of the top 3 quarterbacks. I think the top 3 you can debate about the order are Lamar, Dak, and Josh this year with what they did.
Louie wants to say Brock Purdy so bad.
He wants to say CJ Stroud.
I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with him.
Both.
CJ had a hell of a year too. You can make an argument for him. But I don't know. I think Josh had 44 total touchdowns, 4,800.
We're talking about the Cowboys.
4,800 total yards, 4,300 yards. We're talking about the Cowboys. Sorry.
Yeah, you get your bill.
As a classic performance. CD Lamb bomb to win it. I think that this is going to be a really close game. I'm thinking like a 31-27. I think that Jordan Love comes out here and doesn't eat, but I think that Dak he gets the ball in the fourth quarter and shuts it down.
Word. Louie, you're up, bud.
Yeah, I think Shane's not going to like me for this one, but I think the real storyline that's going to follow the Cowboys into the playoffs is going to be about the Lions game and the reffing situation there. Not that I think anything suspicious happened, but obviously it's kind of been the talking point of a lot of things since then, right? About seeding and about all these things. So I think I just have this feeling that somehow there's going to be another heartbreaking call somewhere in the playoffs, and we haven't seen the last of the good old black and white stripes yet. I'm not going to say which way it'll go. I'm just going to say I feel like there will be another one.
No, the refs across the league have been bad. This isn't just a Cowboys thing. This is a league issue. This is the worst season of refs I've seen since the replacement refs back in 2011, and that was just 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's been abysmal. So I think that'll kind of be it, like following that storyline into the playoffs and are they too scared to make the right call and a lot of those things on these big media games. And will the Lions and the Cowboys meet again in the playoffs? I think is another big storyline for me. As far as the Packers go, I think the biggest storyline for me here is it enough? I guess is how I would question it. Like they do a lot of things okay. They do a lot of things kind of well. Is that enough for a playoff win and a wild card spot? I think the answer is no. This defense is just not together. I don't think they're calling a very good defense. Their defensive coordinator should have been gone a little while ago. I think Jordan Love's playing well. I don't think he's playing at an elite level. I don't think he's playing at a top 10 level. And I don't think any of their receivers are playing at a top 15, 20 level, So is it enough? I don't think so. And I just think that the Packers, I also don't think Jordan Love is that guy, just being honest. Like he's been okay. I think LaFleur is a really good scheme and a really good play caller. And I think that's kind of elevated this team, but I don't think it's going to be enough to overcome a Cowboys juggernaut that's going to be playing with purpose this weekend.
Shay, do you want a rebuttal? I'll go last here.
No, about Louie's opinion about the refs and all that. The thing is,
just like your thoughts on like this Cowboys Packers game. Like you said storyline, and you didn't really talk about the game.
Oh, about that. Okay, so
I'm bad on the wording there.
No, you're good. So obviously, I think some of it's going to have to do with if Tyler Smith, their All-Pro left guard, is going to play or not. He had a complete tear of his plantar fasciitis, which apparently I don't know nothing about medical science. It's better than a partial tear, whatever. But the problem is that without him in the lineup, the run blocking hasn't been great except for last week against Washington. But Washington, I think, has one of the worst yards per carry allowed in the NFL against opposing running backs.
They've given up.
Yeah, they had given up. There had been weeks in the season where the Cowboys have been able to average over 4.5 yards per carry, and that's kind of like that midline. It used to be 4 yards per carry. Now it's like 4.5 because everybody's getting 4 yards per carry. If you can get 4.5 or more, you can run the ball. If you're below that, more often than not, you're going to stop running the ball at some point because they're gonna figure out how to stall you up. Yeah, but the Packers defense, y'all brought it up, has not been great. Too often, the offense has had to bail them out, or they've had to outscore opponents. They've had some close games. The Packers have. They played too close to Chicago. They played too close to Carolina. They played too close and lost actually to Tampa and the Giants. I take every opponent in the NFL seriously because to me there's no such thing as a bad team in the NFL. There's no such thing as a bad player in the NFL. There's just better players on better teams. These are the best players in the world. I have no reason to think why the Cowboys shouldn't win this game other than the fact that it is the playoffs and you have to take every opponent seriously every week. And even though I think the Cowboys from top to bottom are better than the Packers, and I actually respect Jordan Love, what he's done in his first full year as a starter. You going in on the road in your first playoff game as an NFL player is never an easy thing to do, especially when you had to kind of claw your way to get in the playoffs to begin with.
Yeah, no, I am a Jordan Love guy. I think he's going to be a plus starter in this league, probably like between top 12, top 15, maybe higher depending on his development. But what I really like about this Packers team, not that I think they're going to win because I just think they're too young, but that's what I like about this Packers team is that they're extremely young in the quarterback. Like pretty much all 5 of their wide receivers can play. They're not fantastic. They don't have like a top tier guy, but they do have 5 guys within like who can all be like a wide receiver 2 flex type of player in this like on teams. Like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, even Bo Melton can play a little. Like all of these guys have caught significant passes from Jordan Love this year. I think Tucker Kraft's a good young tight end. They have Musgrave on the IR. I won't play in this game. Like it runs off of Aaron Jones though. If Aaron Jones is healthy and operating at like a full capacity, that's when the offense gets unlocked. What I think about this game though is that I don't think that Dallas will let Jordan Love kind of hit those shallow crossers, get the ball in the player's hands quick and let them do the work. Like he does have a good deep ball, but I think that that's kind of playing into what Dallas wants you to do in this game and get away from the run and kind of throw the ball deep into Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland, and in those ball hawking safeties that they do have. So like, I don't think the Packers are going to win this game, but I do think it's going to be a game. So I'm also taking Dallas there. All right, we can move on to the next game. Louie, talk about your Texans. It's Houston and Cleveland.
Everybody, all the things I've been seeing are pretty Browns oriented, which makes sense. They smoked us when we played earlier this season. I'm just saying that in that game, I feel like we saw the Browns at their best, and they haven't seen us at our best yet. That's where I'm at. So, I think my storyline with the Browns team or the Texans team, I guess, first off is can you adapt? You have rookie offensive coordinator, which I don't feel like Bobby Slowick really got a fair chance against this defense without CJ in when they played a couple weeks ago on Christmas Eve. But even D'Amico, right? You called a bad scheme. I feel they weren't doubling Amari. They weren't shadowing Amari, and he went off for a franchise record 200-plus yards. How are you going to address that? How are you going to take away the deep ball? How are you going to force them to try and do something different? How are you going to make Stefanski have to get into his bag and ask more from Flacco? So to me, the biggest storyline for this game is Stefanski going to come back and try the exact same scheme again, which I don't think he will. But is D'Amico going to have something else ready? Because, right, there was a portion of the game where Stingley shadowed Cooper, and he went quiet for a little bit, and then they went right back to playing sides of the field. And as soon as they did that, it was the Amari Cooper show all over again. Left side, deep ball. So I just think I need to see these rookie head coach, rookie coordinator have to be a little more experienced and play a little differently than they're used to if they want a chance to win this game.
What about on the Cleveland side?
On the Cleveland side, I think the biggest story is Man, I don't think it's can the defense hold up? Well, I mean, I guess it's how does that defense match up against this offense at its maximum capacity without injury? So last time we played, there was no Jonathan Grenard, there was no Will Anderson, there was no CJ Stroud. So a lot of these young, impactful guys didn't really get a chance to show out or even take reps against the best defense in the league. So for the Browns, I think it's going to be like, you can beat the same Texans team you played before. Can you beat them with their best players and how they're going to have to adjust to play CJ or to stop Anderson and Grenard if they both play? Who I say, I think that's a top 5 rushing duo in the league right now. So,
yeah, Will Anderson was making people look silly the past couple of weeks. Bahookie, you want to hit this next?
Yeah, for sure. So I have Cleveland winning this game. The score line I went with was 27-20. I don't think it'll be a blowout by any means, but I feel like this is going to be like a game that Cleveland controls. And I don't think CJ Stroud's going to look bad, but I think that going up against this defense and this experienced quarterback and Joe Flacco is a lot to ask of any rookie team. But for the storylines with Houston, I said they won the AFC South due to a massive CJ Stroud performance to put an exclamation point on the season, and a very fraudulent performance by the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And I had to just put a pause in there and clap for Louie because
the fraudulent Jaguars were my best team this season.
He called the Jaguars being fraudulent all year long, and in Week 18, they proved it. And yeah, I said Cleveland's defense and Flacco's experience will be a lot for any rookie on their playoff debut. On the Cleveland side of things, as far as storylines, I said this team has a date with Baltimore. It's a collision course, and I don't think that this super wild card will be denied.
A little bit of wordplay there from Bahookie. Yeah. Go for it, Shane.
Okay. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going. I think more of my heart than my head, and I just have this feeling. I'm picking the Texans. The problem is I watched that game from start to finish because it was the noon game on that day. I'm pretty sure, and Joe Flacco, to his credit, has come out and played well and elevated the offense to a level that Deshaun Watson couldn't do. But on that day, he didn't look all that good. What they had was a lot of chunk plays that the Texans were giving up, but Amari Cooper was just having himself his best game, I think, since he was at the Cowboys against the Eagles on Thanksgiving night. He had a fantastic game. The reality is Flacco threw 2 interceptions. Probably should have thrown at least 2 more. He had 2. I remember he had one that was over towards, I think it was Petrie, the safety, where he was looking for Njoku, the tight end, and Petrie reacted a little too late and missed the opportunity. In fact, the Browns almost gave up a bigger lead than what the game ended up being. And even though I said the same thing with Jordan Love playing his first playoff game, the thing is CJ Stroud, this is his first playoff game also. But there's a little bit something different when you come out of college playing for a program that's used to playing big games. You're already used to that sort of concept. And C.J. Stroud comes from Ohio State. And to Ohio State's credit, they are a team. They're as you call them, franchise now, a program that is often playing under the lights, often playing big games. So he's already used to that sort of pressure. And I think it really sucks that Tyus Howard won't be there. So obviously that's an effect. But Davis Mills is a statue in the pocket. Stroud at the very least can evade pressure a little better. And I think even though the Cleveland has a much better defense than the Texans, no offense, the Texans defense the last couple weeks has played a lot better. We have to give credit where credit's due. Will Anderson looks like he could potentially be the defensive rookie of the year. It's unfair that the Texans have both the offensive and arguably defensive rookies of the year on the team, but this is where we're at. And I think part of it also is I don't know if I fully trust Cleveland yet. They deserve the credit they deserve. I have a hard time buying into the Browns for whatever reason. And it has nothing to do with the
Browns.
I guess maybe it is. It's just I have more faith in a rookie Stroud for whatever reason. I think it's just because he didn't play and he's hungry and to play a team that really they might have beat them the first time around if he plays, because Mills took a lot of those pocket sacks. And I know Louie knows what I'm talking about. He stays too much in the pocket and just lets the guy hit him. C.J. Stroud doesn't take those. C.J. Stroud is smart to at least get rid of the ball or evade pressure. And if Tunsil plays well enough against Garrett, because that's going to be the matchup. That's going to be the matchup that decides this game. If he can lock up Garrett enough and give C.J. Stroud time to find Nico, to find Schultz, to allow his guys to get open, then I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I also don't expect Amari Cooper to have a 200-yard receiving game either. I think Stingley's going to be key because I think more than likely they're going to want to key him up on him. And so I don't think it's going to be near the scoring fest it was last time around. And against probably better judgment, I'm going with the Texans.
Okay. So I came into this thinking that I was going to take the Browns because Bahookie, I love the storyline of Joe Flacco going to play against the Ravens in the playoffs and potentially, knocking off that team. Like with that defense, they already beat them once with DTR playing or whoever they're.
I think it's PJ Walker.
PJ Walker playing. The different times of the season for those teams, I understand, but what really gives me pause here, and what's actually making me going to pick the Texans as well, is that Jack Conklin, Jedrick Willis Jr., and DeJuan Jones are all on the IR. None of them are going to be playing this game. If Jonathan Greenard and Will Anderson are playing, they're going up against 2 third-string tackles who have played well, but I don't know if they're going to be able to play that well with a non-mobile Joe Flacco in the pocket. I think that you're right about the scheme. D'Amico is going to come in. I think he's going to come in with
D'Amico will blitz the hell out of that line.
I don't know if he was in his bag against Minshew.
Yeah.
He had this crazy triple mic fake thing.
And Minshew is mobile. Minshew can evade the pressure. Imagine Flacco is not as mobile as he used to be. And Minshew at least can evade pressure. Flacco needs the time.
The thing about Flacco though is he's seen almost everything, being how much of a veteran he is. Nothing has really phased him so far this season as far as coverages go. So I don't know if you're going to want to try and do all this intricate stuff. I just think that you need he's going to just need to come in with the right game plan, just continue to execute it. And I think he will. I think the Texans win this game. CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, rookies go in and win on wildcard weekend and go play either the Ravens or they would play the Ravens, right? They'd be the lowest seed.
So if the Steelers win, and I doubt they will, against Buffalo, the Steelers will play the Ravens, and then if the Dolphins go to Kansas City, by the way, they've already announced the game on Peacock in Kansas City is going to have a -9 degrees with a 90% chance of snow. I'm not trusting a Miami team in the snow. So whoever wins between the Texans and the Browns is going to play the Ravens. Sorry to spoil the next couple segments, but I don't think any of us are going to pick the Dolphins in the snow. And none of us are going to pick Pittsburgh and Mason Rudolph. I was trying to think of a funny name there. I can't think of one, but Mason Rudolph. I don't think none of us are taking them in Buffalo. Not with the way the Bills are playing.
Yeah. So
I mean, let's move on from this Texans and talk about this KC Miami game.
I didn't know we got to do cool names for our storyline, so I'm running back to mine, and it would have been Supercharged Superstars would have been my title.
That would have made more sense if the Chargers were playing.
No, because it's who are the best? Which team has the best superstars? I feel like that's what this matchup's going to come down to. Tunsil versus Garrett, Stingley versus Cooper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, it would make more sense if the Chargers were playing because that's a pun.
Yeah, whatever. Move on.
Okay, we didn't get the double meaning on that one.
Let's do Bills. Let's do Bills so Bahookie can have his moment.
Bills. Bahookie, go ahead. I picked the Bills.
So Louie always hates it when I talk about Mike Tomlin and Sean McDermott being from the same college. So I'll just say it. I'll say it first and piss you off quick. But anyways, these guys know each other. The Steelers usually play us pretty good. They're a cold weather team. I don't have a reason to expect us to lose this game. But I don't think we're going to cover the 10-point spread that we're being offered.
No TJ Watt. Just
yeah, that's true. That helps. Josh is due for an explosion too, offensively. He's due for one of those 4 touchdown games. This could be a team it could happen against, but my gut's telling me that this is going to be like an under game. I think the over-under's at like 38.5 right now, and I have this game at like 19-12. Because it's gonna be like really cold, like that Kansas City game. Not quite as cold, and there is going to be some snow in the forecast, but I have Buffalo advancing here. Surprise, surprise. And for Pittsburgh's, I just said the legend of Mike Tomlin. Another year, another winning record, gets into the playoffs with whoever at quarterback. Pittsburgh fans probably are still salty for some reason because they're Pittsburgh fans. And I'm looking forward to potentially we take care of business, getting to host Patrick Mahomes in his first road playoff game of his career.
All right, Lou, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Bills in this one. If I had to do two storylines, I think it's Josh Allen rights the wrongs is kind of how I'm looking at the Bills season. Like, I think he took a lot of the criticism. I don't feel like their offensive coordinator was all of the problems, but I definitely feel like that firing was an instigation to this team playing better football, whatever that means for them. They've been taking care of the ball, and I just think with the lack of TJ Watt, this game feels like a slam dunk. I do think this game will expose a few things. I agree with Bahookie. I think it's going to be closer than it needs to be. And I think we're going to see two deep balls to Gabe Davis that get dropped, and then he gets moved on from in the offseason. That's my hot take.
If he plays, he's questionable.
If he plays, I think he runs like a deep route, and the ball hits him like outstretched hands, and he just doesn't bring it in. And then we're talking about,
Diggs,
we're
Knox,
all pretty much
Shakur.
on from Gabe Davis in Buffalo. We really are the future pass rushers for us are Diggs, Shakir, and Kincaid. Those guys we know we have moving
What
forward.
about Knox? You don't want Knox anymore? I will take Knox.
I like Knox as an inline blocker, and we want to start running more 12 personnel. That was the goal, but because the Knox injury, we weren't really able to. That's still something that we can start working in the playoffs and in the red zone because.
And with the emergence of James Cook, now teams have to respect 12 personnel, not just expect a play action. Because if you don't have a running back that they don't expect to get the ball, then 12 personnel don't always work with play action. But now that obviously Josh Allen's a running threat and James Cook's come along, I know that personally. I'm a Cowboys fan. Again, y'all won. No disrespect there. Now you have to respect 12 personnel again, back to when they all had the combination of Singletary and what's his name? You had that two Zach Moss. You had that 1-2 punch, the thunder and lightning. You had to respect it back then. And this year, with the emergence of Cook, it's probably been about as dangerous as ever since he's come along in his last couple of weeks. With respect.
Yeah. No, I don't need to say anything else about James Cook.
So I'm also going to take Buffalo in this. I do think, like you said, Bahookie, the Tomlin, the Steelers tend to play Josh Allen and the Bills pretty tight. So I do think it's going to be a closer game, but my main storyline for the Bills, man, is like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, like that Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs connection needs to click again. Cause he just it seems they played well
against Miami.
He had a solid game against Miami. He hasn't had over 100 yards in 10 weeks. That seems like a long.
He's been playing with a core injury that not a lot of people know about, and his snap.
But let's look at that Jalen Ramsey play where he absolutely cooked him on that. Like him and John, the connection is slightly off. Just slightly. If they want to win a Super Bowl, that connection needs to be on point. That's what I'm saying. You can't miss that play against Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes. You can't do it. You have
against Mahomes, you can, because the defense can't stop anybody and the receivers can't catch the ball. So Mahomes, you can.
I would say that I would concur with what Shane.
Can you do that against the 49ers?
Not at all.
Okay.
But the Chiefs ain't the 49ers. You can do that. You can't do that against the Ravens. You can get away with that against Kansas City this year.
Okay, but
Buffalo is the second best team in the AFC.
Super Bowl is their goal. You need to have the connection, connecting. You can't have them just miss it.
Got a few more weeks to get it right, and then the idea is to continue playing better and better football now.
I think a lot of it, what's going under the radar, we talk about their problems on offense, but their defense has come along so nicely.
Especially in the last.
Douglas has been a huge addition for y'all.
Yeah. it's blossomed, and as you know, as Blake loves to point out, they made probably the steal of the trade deadline. And who's our superstar, Blake?
Rasul Douglas.
Yeah.
If you
Rasul
haven't
Douglas.
heard of him, you're not paying attention.
What happened to Kyer Elam? He had such a solid rookie season, but y'all
He's a man cornerback in a zone system, and he's just not. That's really what it is. And Christian
flipping for a fourth in the March.
I think we should trade him, honestly. Like, I don't know. Brandon Beane wanted to hold on to him. I guess there was like a 3rd round pick on the table for him at the trade deadline, but Brandon Beane still believes in him, or believes he can get more later. I don't know. But he's a good depth piece, I guess, to have. We have Roswell Douglas, Dane Jackson, Christian Benford all ahead of him. And then, Taron Johnson in the slot. Trey White should come back at some point next year, maybe. I don't even know what to make of him. It was sad because he was really starting to get back. But anyways, we can move on to the next game. I'll talk about the Bills forever.
Yeah. All right. So next we're gonna talk. You said you're taking the Bills, Tyler?
Yeah, we're all taking the Bills. I can't.
Let's talk Chiefs, Dolphins next, because I am taking the Dolphins in this game.
Wow.
You're taking the Dolphins in the Peacock game?
I'm taking the Dolphins in the Peacock game.
It's gonna be -9 with a 90% chance of snow in Kansas City, Missouri, with 15 plus mile an hour winds, and you're taking.
I know it doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm just telling you how I feel.
Okay.
What's your scoreline prediction?
I watched the Barbie movie, and so I've been looking at horses all day. I'm in my whatever they call it, the super casa, whatever. But
well, I watched Shrek last night, so I'm painfully honest.
No, I just don't know why. I feel like I've seen a lot of disrespect for this team. I know they're super injured, but I don't think that's horrible because I just don't like the Chiefs offense. So really what it comes down to is the Dolphins offense matching up against the Chiefs defense.
Miami's ain't been all that lately either.
Oh, I know. But I feel like right. I've been seeing some stuff about Mike McDaniels. Is he the guy? He can't get them to a winning record.
Defensive line. Chris Jones is going to eat that interior for lunch.
Well, let's let Louie get his storyline out.
Yeah, quit being rude. Let Louie finish. Let Louie keep explaining his bad opinions.
I don't always interrupt everybody else. No, I think for some reason this just feels like one of those crazy speed pays off kind of games where I think they just break a couple big plays that keep them in enough to drill a game-winning field goal, like an 82-yard run by Devon Achane and a weird 61-yard screen pass to Tyreek, that just kind of pushes this team over the edge. So
here's the thing: the Dolphins played a snow game last year in Buffalo, and they came out of that one. I think they lost by 3 or 4 points. The difference in that one, though, is they had to run the ball because Tua was out that game. They had Skylar Thompson playing the game, so they had to run the ball heavily. With Tua in there, then they actually had the ability to throw the ball. Okay, but
Tua played in the snow game. Skylar Thompson played.
Did he play in the snow game? Oh, you're right. He played in the playoff game. You're right. He played in the playoff game. That's my bad. Okay, but in either case, the Dolphins are a faster team, but are they going to be faster on ice? Morris is a much more thicker running back. He's going to be your guy that you want to power the ball to. But the Chiefs, for all their faults, have actually been pretty solid against the run this year. Chris Jones, some of you pointed out, Bahookie, he has been one of the better 3-techs at clogging lanes, especially against the run. And their linebacking core, led by Nick Bolton, they don't allow a lot against the run. It's the pass that they give up a lot of yards on, but you can't really throw the ball in 15+ mile-an-hour winds in the snow. I doubt you can. I doubt that, with all respect to Tyreek Hill and the Jalen Waddle, creating separation on warm turf is different than on frozen grass. So my storyline for the Peacock game, again, I call it the Peacock game because I don't know why they're putting it on Peacock. I think it's disrespectful. Is for both sides, which one plays better, and again in the weather, and I'm going with the Chiefs, obviously.
Hold on, I gotta address that point as well. I'm pointing the wrong way. How y'all not have Peacock at this point?
I do have Peacock. I do. I'm talking about everybody else who doesn't want to pay the extra $3 a month for Peacock.
No, I'm just I want to make the point to everyone watching, all three of you.
I have it, but a lot with the place
Peacock is definitively a top 3 streaming service right now.
Behind
Like,
who?
Yeah, the Premier League's on there. I'm a big soccer fan, so that's.
I say Apple TV,
Okay.
Hulu, and
Okay.
Peacock are my top 3. I don't watch Netflix hardly ever.
That's
I
fair.
have
Nobody
them all.
watches Prime.
I have every one of the streaming services.
Yeah,
HBO Max.
I share and collect passwords from Peacock, so like
Yeah,
everybody's
sure.
got the
We
same.
all do. We're all
Yeah,
tired.
when I say
But what I'm saying is like sheer
I'm the
just
ultimate share.
use Peacock is a top 3 streaming service right now.
Yeah, but it's disrespectful for especially older fans who don't know how to use that sort of
Yeah,
thing. The older
I
fans
get
who
that.
don't have that kind of thing. That's disrespectful.
I agree with that.
So I'm going to take the Chiefs as well. My two storylines is that like Miami's just too injured right now. They're Jalen Phillips, Xavier Howard,
Bradley Chubb.
Andrew Van Ginkel, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert. All of them have missed games towards the end of the stretch here, and I don't think most of them will play. Waddle might play, but he's going to be on a high ankle sprain, so that still severely hampers your ability to play football. Those secondary wide receivers, there's pretty much nothing after Tyreek Hill in the passing game for them. Cedric Wilson, Shane, he's just a guy. You know that. I know that.
He was a man with the Cowboys. He's just a guy in Miami.
And the Chiefs defense is elite. I think they can hold this version of the Dolphins defense in this type of offense, in this type of weather, to 17 points, and they can score 20 points on this defense. Mahomes and the receivers might not be very good, but Isaiah Pacheco runs like somebody's chasing him. I don't know. He makes
a Scooby-Doo villain being chased by Scooby-Doo.
He makes the ground hurt when his feet hit the ground like that. He's pounding pavement, moving. And Chris Jones is also going to have just one of those classic Chris Jones games. 3 sacks, maybe a forced fumble, and just dominating the line of scrimmage basically by himself.
Yeah, the Dolphins' offensive line is way too beat up. He's going to eat.
Yeah,
he's going to take Isaiah Wynn's lunch money.
All right. So you got a point? Go ahead.
I gave half my point when I interrupted you, but I didn't get to fully go.
Damn.
I'm sorry. I'm just playing. 20-7 is the score line that I have here, Kansas City.
So you keep it low, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I think, if Miami can only score 14 against us at home, what should I expect against them to do it like in this freezing tundra at Arrowhead? I don't, and I've correctly picked every Miami loss this year with the exception of the Tennessee one. I didn't see. But what do all of those teams have in common that they lost to? Strong defensive lines. They get Tua off of his spot. And when Tua gets taken off of his spot and he can't get the ball out in 2 seconds to his first read, he's not the same guy. I was saying to my roommate who's a Dolphins fan, I don't think Tua is that much better than Tannehill, honestly. Maybe a marginally better thrower of the ball, but Tannehill could at least move and take some hits.
Hey, real quick before you move on, I just saw this on Twitter that popped up. And the Dolphins' last 10 games in sub 40-degree weather, they are 0-10.
You want to know another funny stat about the Dolphins? The Patriots have more wins against teams that are over 500 this season than the Dolphins do.
Ooh, damn! Move on, Chiefs. Move on.
So my storylines really quick for Miami. I said, "Good season, boys. Thanks for keeping our throne warm. They are who we thought they were."
Jesus.
That's a lot better than charged up stars or whatever Louie said.
Oh, shut up, Jake. You ain't even been here.
For Kansas City, I said big Pacheco game in the cold to mirror what Tyler said. I'm with that. And I said Kelsey too. I think that Kelsey's been kind of mid this year, if I'm being honest. Right? And I think that Kelsey does come out and have a good performance here. And yeah, I favor the champs at home 20-7, as I said.
Word. Let's rip this next game here.
Yeah, we got 2 more games together in 5 minutes.
I'm proud that no one made a Taylor Swift reference in that one. I'm proud.
This is real football coverage. Okay, last Sunday game is Rams-Lions. the return of Stafford, and as one of our guys said in the chat right before we hopped on, against the Motor City Kitties. This
disregard Pitts in this conversation for now.
This is script writing at its finest to me. Like the return of Stafford to Detroit, the fallen sun. I've seen the Kung Fu Panda edits. The internet's going crazy. So, what do you guys think? Who do you have winning the Battle of Motor City?
Can I go again?
Go for it, Bahookie.
All right, so I have the Rams winning 7-24. For the storylines, I said Detroit, good season, not quite as ready as we thought. And for the LA Rams, I said Stafford has a performance and makes Detroit's fans happy while they're also sad. Because they still like to root for Stafford and like we're rooting for him in the Super Bowl.
It's real. I was up near the Detroit area for Christmas, and you go into these sports shops and they have like the hybrid Ram Lion jerseys.
That was very cringe.
It's crazy.
Go for it, Louie.
I am gonna take the Lions here, and I'm gonna call it the Sacrificial Ram. Is the name of the storyline.
That's a little better. That's a little better.
I think I actually have this pen down as a Jared Goff revenge game. I think he's been playing really well this season, or he plays really bad. I think this is one of those games where he, finds a good deep shot. He takes good care of the ball, and I think Sean McVay calls a great game, and I think Puka and Cooper are going to have a day against this Lions team. But I do think the Lions' defensive line especially plays better against non-mobile QBs, and I think Stafford fits that bill pretty well at this age. I have this kind of as a shootout, if I'm being honest, and I'm going like 30-33.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. Shane, go for it.
I'm actually going to go with the hot hand. I'm going with the Rams. If this thing was played outside, I wouldn't take a dome team, but I'm going to take a team that's found something with Kyron Williams running the ball, an offensive line that's still kind of meh, that's figured stuff out. And with Matt Stafford, the return to him, they are a different team than without him. And this is a stat that I also saw, and y'all know I love to pull stats out. Jared Goff has a 50-point differential when he's not being blitzed versus when he's being blitzed. When he's perfectly protected, and he has a good offensive line. When he's perfectly protected, I think he has like a 76 overall QBR or something like that. When he's blitzed, it's below 20 or something like that. It's something absurd, like just like how much he just kind of crumbles beneath the pressure. See what I did there? And the Rams, for whatever it is, they've been able to find a pressure rate with Leonard Floyd, Aaron Donald. They found something with this front seven on their team. And also what hurts the Lions also is Sam Laporta, their second most targeted guy on the Lions offense. He's not going to play this game. Hyperextended knee. He might not be out until the earliest if they made it to the NFC Championship game. So we're going to see a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I can't really trust anybody else on this Lions offense against this Rams defense, which has come alive in recent weeks, to really step up in his place. Yeah, they have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in the running game, but the Rams have been really good at stopping the run in the last couple weeks as well. So I think Stafford is going to get the win coming back to Detroit, as opposed to Goff getting his revenge at home. And plus, also, I don't really know if Detroit knows how to host a playoff game. They haven't done it since Reagan was president. Just putting that out there.
So crazy.
So my take on it is kind of akin to your last point there. Is it's going to come down to experience here for me. Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, they've won a Super Bowl. Like they know what it takes. They beat Tom Brady in the Bucs. They beat Joe Burrow in the Bengals. They had a great run, and they're primed to do it again. Honestly, they might not have as good of a defense, back end of a defense, but they have a pass rush. They're solid against the run. Matt Stafford's cooking. Kyron Williams I'm pretty sure he was like third or fourth in rushing yards on the entire season.
Right.
And he missed 6 games, or 4 games. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua just broke the rookie receiving record. They're weapons there. And Sean McVay might be the best head coach in the league right now. He definitely has one of the best schemes, if not the best, and he's one of the best play callers. Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator, is another guy who knows how to create a defensive game plan. And Jared Goff is the type of player that if you have the right game plan against, you are going to be able to neutralize. So the biggest thing about this game is that the Rams need to take away the running ability of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, put it all on Goff. And like you just said, Laporta's not playing. So Goff is going to have to do a lot to St. Brown, who I think Morris can scheme his way out of like
neutralize.
So I am taking the Rams here, and that's something that I didn't think I would do. But yeah, so I'm going to take the Rams.
I will say, to speak back against my earlier point, I will say that Sean McVay watched Jared Goff for a really long time. And the continuity there, if he knows what caused bad games for Goff and the reason he got rid of him, I'm sure he can replicate that if he wants to.
Yeah.
Photographic memory, he's going to be like, oh, they're in this look. I know exactly what caused Goff the fumble on this play 9 years ago and whatever. Like,
I just think it's a bad matchup for Detroit, honestly. I just think it's a bad matchup for Detroit.
I think in my mind, it's just kind of too poetic for them to like get back in and lose right away. So I think they need this win. And
But the frat Stafford?
I get it. I just think at this point, it's like, okay, he got traded. He won a Super Bowl. Now it has to be Goff's turn. You know, like Goff was given away as a piece to get somebody else. He wasn't traded for. He was traded away.
Yeah,
so,
I get you.
So I think this is his moment to put the narrative.
I wouldn't be mad if the Lions won. Like I honestly, the sickest Super Bowl this season would be the Lions going against the Browns. That would be the best Super Bowl for me because neither one of those franchises have had any sort of like life to them, and that one of them would come out of it with a championship. That would be cool to me. Don't think it's going to happen, but like that would be the coolest thing for me because of course my team's not in it. So sorry to all three of your teams if that were the case. We can move on to this next and last game in case anybody has anything else to say.
Last one is Eagles Bucks. JC joined the chat just in time to be disappointed. I'm picking against the Eagles in this one. I don't like what they've been doing. It's hard to see the vision anymore. It's an identity-less team. There doesn't seem to be any passion. There seems to be internal fighting and disagreements. And I don't think they, in their heart of hearts, believe that they have a chance this year. And so, I like a scrappy Bucks team over a deflating Eagles team. So, yeah, I think the storyline for this one is, can the Eagles get out of their own way? That's what it comes down to. Because it's not like the Bucks are going to beat the Eagles. The Eagles are going to beat the Eagles, or the Eagles are going to beat the Bucks, and it's up to them to choose which one.
I like that a lot. Bahookie, you want to go next?
Yeah, I cut this one short because I knew it'd be the last game and we'd be running short on time. Philly at Tampa, I have the Bucks winning 21-20 in a close one. My storyline for Philly, implosion complete. Period. My storyline for Tampa, Baker reminds Jalen Hurts who daddy is. ... Mike Evans.
Wow.
Mike Evans.
Wow.
And I have Mike Evans having a big 2-touchdown 100-yard game here.
All right. I like that. Shane, go for it.
The problem is like I go back and forth on this game just because on the one hand, the Eagles have lost 5 of their last 6, but I also I still have some faith in Jalen Hurts, even though he broke his finger on his hand. It sounds like he's going to be fine. I just don't really trust their offensive play calling right now, which has really kind of like hurt them in the last couple weeks. The Niners, for lack of a better word, broke them. The Niners figured out how to stifle them offensively and defensively, and since then, every team has copied them. The Cowboys, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, every team has done it. But with the Bucks to me are such an inconsistent team. On the one hand, Baker has found new life, and they have the weapons to take on Philly has a bad secondary, and Tampa has the weapons to beat them. But Philly also has the front seven that can abuse a hurt offensive line, an offensive line that's, I would say, average on its best day. And it's hard to trust the Bucks because on some days the Bucks will beat the Panthers 9-0. On another day, they'll go out there and they'll lose to a team that they shouldn't lose to. They'll beat a team they shouldn't beat. And remember, these teams played early in the season, so they're familiar with each other. But since then, the Eagles have been free fall, and the Buccaneers have gone from third in the South to win the South. So you take that with a grain of salt. The problem is the storyline here is for both teams, which team will be less worse, and that's the best way to describe it. Is just like you can't really trust the Eagles, even though on paper they look better, but they're hurt. You can't really trust the Bucs because even though they have talent on offense, you can't really trust them to play consistently. So with that, I guess I'll go with. I guess I'll go with the Bucs.
No.
It's only just because it doesn't look like AJ Brown will play in this game, and I don't really know if the Eagles really even the players even want to be there. A lot of them look like they've quit. A lot of them look like hey, this is not the same team it was last year. It's just it's hard to see a team with a winning record look like they don't belong, and it really feels like honestly the Eagles might be. This is not as a Cowboys fan saying this. Is me objectively saying this. The Eagles might be the worst team in the NFC playoff picture.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up here real quick by saying Baker Mayfield's going to be feeling very dangerous on Monday night. Like you said, they're an inconsistent football team, but they just had a bad game against a bad team. So like this is the perfect time for people to be like, oh, we're back in Philly. And here come the Bucs, putting together a really strong game against a better opponent. Philadelphia has a poor secondary. It's not playing well. I love the Mike Evans point. Chris Godwin's a really good player for them. Cade Otton's a good player for them. Rashad White can hurt them out of the backfield. But let's kind of flip over to the Buccaneers defense. Antoine Winfield might be
All-Pro.
He's an all-pro safety and one of the best defensive players in football right now. Like, that's the type of season he's having. Sacks, forced fumbles, interceptions, fumble recoveries, tackles, the whole 9 yards, coverage, all of that. Antoine Winfield Jr. is an all-pro. The Devin White and them had a contract dispute a few weeks ago, but I think they kind of shelved that for a bit, and he's playing again like the Devin White we kind of saw previously, like the player that is all over the field making plays everywhere. Joe Tyrion Trienka, I think his name is. Their left end has kind of come alive the past couple of weeks as well. I think that this is just the type of team you can't peg, but that's exactly why I'm going to pick them, because they're playing a team that's lost to the Seahawks and the Cardinals and the Giants. I know the Giants weren't playing all their starters, but the Eagles weren't playing all their starters to a point in that game. But the way they lost that game against Tyrod, the broken Giants team, you can't do that and expect to win many playoff games. So give me the Bucs. Give me Baker Mayfield. I actually said it at the beginning of this year. Nobody wanted to hear it, but I said Baker Mayfield was going to have a Geno Smith type resurgence, and with the weapons that he had on the Bucs, and they were going to make the playoffs and maybe win one of those games. So I hope that kind of comes to fruition. I hope the Rams do too, because I said the same thing about the Rams. They're going to get their players healthy and kind of have one of those runs late in the season. So hopefully I can be right on a couple of things. Wasn't right on the Jags. Louie, you were right on the Jags. They're fraudulent. Had to say it. Yeah. You were correct.
It's nice to hear you admit it.
No, yeah, I admit it when I'm wrong. When
they were one game away from being first in the AFC. And you guys were like, see, I told you they were good. And I was like, nope, don't buy it. They're gonna fumble this. And now they didn't even make playoffs. So
yeah, they fumbled it pretty hard. You're right. On the note that Louie was right about the Jaguars, we're gonna end this show and we're all gonna watch some great wild card weekend football and see where the chips lie at the end of this week. I wish each one of your teams the best of luck, by the way. We're not in it. So
yeah, we're all in it.
Yeah, you guys are in it. I'm not in it. It's okay.
Champions.
Lambs on the draft.
Yeah, already in the draft. Focused on the draft and how the Pats are going to screw that up.
From all of us here at Fit Down Territory, Thanks for tuning in. You know we'll be back. In the words of CJ Stroud, we're too special to only come this far. So.